here, and we'll discuss revival strategies for the sector. So today we will start. Although this says the program highlights, but the Honorable Lisa MacLeod will only be joining us at 5 p.m. So we will start with chatting with our panel, and then Pramodji would have some questions, and then we'll also have a section where we will be asking questions from the audience. So people in the audience, if you're joining us on Facebook Live, all you need to do is ask your question in the comment section. Those of you who've attended ICCC webinars in the past, you already know how to do it. If this is your first one, welcome, and we'll love to hear your questions. We have a small disclaimer for everybody. Whatever you hear here is for general information purposes only, does not constitute legal or professional advice, and the rest of it you can read up at the one at the bottom. The views expressed by the speakers are their own personal opinion and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the ICCC. With that out of the way, we want to talk about the ICCC Small Business Assist Program. The ICCC Small Business Assist Program was started by the ICCC around the end of March, beginning of April, when we found that a lot of our members, as well as the Indo-Canadian community at large, wanted answers to some questions. If you're a small business owner and did not have the wherewithal to go and speak to a accountant or a finance professional or a technology professional, we offered a free service. And who are the members on the service? These are people who are qualified professionals from within the ICCC and who have volunteered their time. So once you send us a question, one of our volunteers would then speak to you, 30 minutes of free counseling. And in most cases, when you're down in the dumps, you're at your wit's end, you don't know what to do. A lot of times that 30 minutes does help. So if you're a small business or you're somebody that's in the Indo-Canada corridor or Indo-Canadian in Canada, please send us an email and we will get somebody to assist you. So again, now let's start with the panel discussion here. We'll get to the meat of it right away. So we will start with a question to Turkish Airlines, and I'll let Zafar or Tariq, one of you guys, take this. The question is probably very specific to Turkish Airlines itself. Turkish Airlines, as we know, has been one of the fastest growing airlines in the world. In fact, Istanbul is now probably home to one of the largest airports in the world, if not the largest. So the question is, how does all that hyper growth, that planning for the future, how would any of that change? And is there something that you can share with COVID-19? What does this? How does this change plans for Turkish Airways? And how do you see this playing out?
Thank you, Vijay. Before going to that question, just a small brief about Turkish Airlines. What's the update and what measure Turkish Airlines has done in order to face the COVID pandemic, which is worldwide. Turkish Airlines is the national carrier airline of Turkey, and it has a scheduled services to 315 destinations covering Europe, Asia, Africa, America. And the airline serves more destinations non-stop from a single airport than any other airline in the world. And it flies to 126 countries, more than any other airline. We have the youngest fleet, which an average fleet age is 6.5 years, with around 361 fleet. Now, geographically, Turkey as a country, Istanbul, I can say the main hub, the Istanbul as a country, is geographically located in both Asia and Europe. And it's given ample opportunity for anyone to cover different parts of the world. So that's why we say that within a span of three hours, one can connect to around 80 destinations worldwide. So the location makes its stability so unique that one can travel to 37 countries in just 3 hours of a span of time. Now, as you spoke with our new airport, yes, you are right. This is the world's largest airport. And sometime when we show our presentation, so we have one graph, which I cannot show it here, but I will surely pass on this slide to you. So when we say largest, so people say, oh, you are larger than where? Atlanta, New York, Chengdu in China, or the present, or our old Istanbul airport. We tell them, you combined Atlanta, you combined New York, you combined Chengdu, you combined the old airport. When you combine the 4 airport, this airport is bigger than that. So it's a massive airport, seeing the future of Istanbul, making it as a hub, connecting people to the different part of the world. So that is the main motto of Turkish airline. Obviously, the COVID has airline is one of the sector. I know each and every sector has their own measure, but airline is one of the sector where all the plane was grounded. So we all know there is lots of expenses when an airline flies, and being grounded, all the plane was a huge setback for all the aviation industry. So slowly, we are coping with that. And with the things are getting controlled, as Turkish airline, we are opening it. So at present, whichever countries has allowed us, we are flying to those countries. And obviously Canada is one of them.
So as we speak, there is Turkish Airlines flights into Canada from Istanbul to Canada.
Yes, there is. We in July, we are flying 4 flights. And in August, it will be 5. Generally, we are flying 6 flights a week. That is our schedule. And we have 3 flights from Montreal. And we were launching in July Vancouver. Vancouver was our 3rd gateway from Canada. But due to COVID, we have extended it. And hopefully, we will launch it in September.
Fantastic. And just a supplementary question on that. There's a lot of people in the Indo-Canadian community. So can they use this to get to India? Like, can they get to Istanbul and then get to India, or do they need special permission for that?
No, definitely. See, as I mentioned you, each and every country has their own measure. So if India is open, if the Civil Aviation Authority of India is open, you can fly to India with Turkish Airlines. So it depends upon that country, that what are the measure that countries are taking. But we are open.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Tariq. We will go to Heather. Heather, I have a question for you. If you can just tell our viewers, what ACTA is, what does ACTA stand for? And I think, we have a lot of membership that's also travel agents. And a lot of them have also probably members of ACTA. And in the recent past, I think I've been told that ACTA membership has grown, manifold. So is that people trying to find solace in ACTA? What is the main why would people join ACTA in when a pandemic happens? And second is, can you let our travel agent colleagues and members of the Indo-Canadian Chamber of Commerce, what should they be looking out for, and what any suggestions for them?
Great. Well, thank you, Vijay. So first of all, yes, ACTA is the Association of Canadian Travel Agencies. We have been in operation for well over 40 years. And actually, I've been with ACTA for over 20 of those years. So it's been a while. I've seen a lot of our industry is very subjective to many different occurrences. Of course, COVID is, and I know we've heard this word be many times, but it's certainly unprecedented. So Yes, ACTA has seen an increase in our membership, and we welcome the support, especially knowing that working with government relations firms and lobbying, it takes significant financial resources. So we certainly we welcome the support. We also know and understand the dire financial pressure that our travel agencies are under. And as such, we've provided a number of our tools to non-members to assist them through these challenging times, and appreciate any support possible as a contribution to our advocacy fund. In terms of why the increase in support, ACTA is the national voice of Canadian travel businesses, and that's 14,000 Canadian travel businesses. We are the voice for travel agencies, their employees, and also a large number of independent travel agents. With the plethora of information out there, the continual changes to the government programs, and trying to make sense of it all, ACTA is the resource for travel agents to help them understand what the information means to them and their businesses. As for the mental state of travel agents across the country, with revenue still down over 90%, over 95% in speaking to some of our travel agents members in say Alberta just last Thursday. The situation is critical, especially as the financial aid programs begin to wind down. Yet borders remain closed, travel advisories are still in place, and the few bookings made do not support the expenses still incurring. So it's certainly, ACTA is there. We are lobbying and urging government of the significant impact to our sector of the industry.
Thank you, Heather. I think that's very comforting. You know, so people obviously should consider joining up ACTA. It's something that we tell members to consider joining the Indo-Canadian Chamber of Commerce as well. If you're doing business in the Indo-Canada corridor, it's also strengthened numbers. I think all of that good stuff, right? So, Tariq, we'll come back to you. Tariq, I have a question. You know, from a business, you know, travel with Zoom, like today, all of us on this call as well, you know, we're able to almost transact business as normal as we did before, right? So that, wouldn't you think that in the new normal, that even if we got over COVID-19, would business travel remain the same? And the reason we ask this is business travel is where I think a lot of airlines actually make money. You know, if it's after seat row 10 or whatever the seat number, when you go into economy, that's when you start, you know, breaking even or losing money. But upfront is where you make money. So what do you think? How is that going to go play out? So Tariq, you want to, and what's Turkish Airlines' view on that? And you know, we'd love to hear that from you.
Thanks, Vijay. The bottom line is that we got to restore confidence among our consumer base in air travel. And we believe that taking care of safety of our customer as well as our people should be most important at this space. Today only, I was reading the journal of WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom, and he said that the world nation must do more to stop the spread of COVID-19 within their own borders, because bans on international travel simply cannot remain in place indefinitely. Only through strict adherence to preventive health and safety measures such as mask wearing and social distance will the world manage to beat the pandemic. So is this is the whole scenario of the worldwide. I know, like as an aviation industry, most of our profit comes from our business traveler, and business traveler is one of the one of the major and important sector where an airline earns its lots of money. So lots of precaution which has been advised by the WHO as well as from the civil aviation authority. We as an airline, I'm not saying about only Turkish airline, but all the airlines of the world are taking precaution. So in that regards, obviously, being as a new airport, modern high tech have at present, we have got an upper hand in order to facilitate all these measures. Because the thing is that we have prior only lots of safety and precaution measure, but with this COVID part which came in between, so we didn't find so difficult to handle the situations. So for example, if I can say that we have a less contact rate, everything is online, like you have your ticket online, you put your luggage, so there is a less contact. There is a mask throughout the flight from the time you get inside the airport till the time you land to the other destination. There should be a mask. The physical distance is always taking care of it. Hand sanitizer at each and every point. The temperature check-in, and the most part is that during the when you get inside the flight, when you board, at that time the people that has been controlled. So the people are calling in the small groups so that they can come inside. And while getting out of the aircraft also, there is a 2-minute delay of each and every passenger. It's not that everyone is coming at one time. And in order to facilitate this process, what Turkish Airline has done, Turkish Airline has limited the passengers' belonging. Like before it was that, okay, you can carry one carry hand baggage along with you, and then people used to carry 7 kg, 10 kg. We have limited this because this takes lots of commotion on the flight. So this is one of the steps which we have taken care. And with all those factors, like we are flying safe all over the worldwide.
Thank you very much, Tariq. Heather, I'll have one question for you before we get to Pramodji's these questions. The question for you is, if you're a travel agent and you know the travel industry as a whole, it's probably going to be some time since this is all going to kind of come back to normal. In the interim, what would you suggest travel agents or anybody connected to the travel sector do? Like, is there growth areas? Should they be focusing on domestic travel, domestic, within the country, vacations? There's people. What should people be focusing on, right? So, what can they pivot? Is there something else they would do? Heather, any questions? Sorry, any your views on that? Sorry.
Yes, well, thank you for the question. I think that absolutely domestic travel is the focus right now. That's certainly the focus of our government, and one where at this point in time it is difficult to travel beyond. So it's certainly the focus is domestic. I'd also say that at this time, where possible, to also look to enhance your own skills for when the time comes when borders are opened, when travel restrictions are lifted, and that what we have seen is our education are the tools that we have available that will enhance your skills are being utilized by our professionals. So I'd also say that if and where possible, to use that time to upgrade your skills.
Okay. Thank you very much, Heather. And with that, I'll be handing it over to Pramodji. Pramodji, talking business. Pramodji's got some questions for you guys. Over to you, Pramodji.
welcome once again Heather and Tariq to this webinar. And just taking the discussion further, let me ask Heather to begin with. Considering indications from across the globe, especially like wherein we see indications of a possibility of a second wave of COVID-19 to come in probably in fall or later. And in some parts of the world, we actually see that happening. So my question is kind of two-part. One, will that scenario push back the current very soft start of the flights that we see as of now?
Mhm.
And part two, of course, now we are looking at many countries are in the race for a vaccine. However, I mean, getting the results and have satisfactory trust built up from amongst the population to not have any, excuse me, adverse side effects. That stage might take a long time till all the studies are done and people have the confidence. So how would we get the confidence back on the travelers to feel, confident to travel? So two-part question. First, what will happen to the airline industry? And second, how would we build the confidence with the travelers?
Great. Well, thank you for those questions. I would say that first off, I will attest I am not a medical authority. So disclaimer there. One can speculate, though, that it is a very real possibility for this second wave. And we are already hearing of a resurgence in some areas such as Spain and Vietnam. However, considering how much we've learned from the first wave and the health and safety protocols that we've put in place, one is hopeful that the impact will and may not be as severe. So I think that answers your first part. As for your second part, and getting the confidence back for travelers, yes, there are travelers that have suggested that they're not willing to travel until a vaccine has been developed. However, equally, we have heard from travelers that are willing to travel so long as the restrictions are lifted. It's the 14 days that is certainly a barrier. The other important consideration outside of a vaccine is travel health insurance. And so where there are, when there are insurance products in place that will cover COVID, this will go a long way in restoring some of that confidence. Travel bubbles or air bridges, they're calling, where there are low cases, that will also contribute to the overall level of confidence in a traveler.
Sure. Thank you for your input, Heather. But I mean, personal note, I would suspect if the travel insurance that has been taken away by most of the insurers as of now, especially for pandemic-related coverage, if that is going to come back soon. But anyhow, that's the reality, and we have to all deal with and go forward with this. So thank you for your input. And now, Tariq, if I could ask you one tricky one. I mean, we were talking about Turkish Airlines being the most international because you're servicing the most number of countries and cities globally. Of course, we all understand and we've discussed that this pandemic will kind of, as of now, has redefined international travel, and maybe in the time to come, it might still have its effect for a longer term. But would that also mean that there might be mushrooming of local domestic airlines?
In terms of, if I if I say in terms of domestic traffic for Turkey, so the domestic traffic is increasing. Yeah, obviously international traffic, people are feeling still there is a little bit of hess inside them to travel. But in terms of domestic traffic within Turkey is increasing a lot because people wants to go. And I think that is the scenario which is happening in Canada too. Like people want to travel domestically anywhere, whether they want to move away from their home because they have been in their home for last 3 to 4 months. They want to move away from that scenario. So in terms of that, same works for Turkish airline, that our domestic traffic is increasing a lot, as well as the inter-Europe traffic. Since we are very strong for Germany, London, Italy, Israel, so our traffic to Germany, London have been increased dramatically. So we are gaining lots of traffic from these destinations, but on a wider scale, yes, international traffic is taking in a slow pace.
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, because of the restrictions, travel-related restrictions, as you mentioned earlier, that it is all individual country-specific requirements and regulations that they're put in. So it's not open all along. So airlines have to work within those frameworks as been announced by different countries. So what I was looking at is if because of these restrictions, this airline industry, because what my understanding is that airlines make more money and profitability operating international routes. So of course, every airline has domestic segment as well, and plus there are in countries larger movements. So you have domestic air operators as well. So would that restrictive environment create more of domestic players, which are focused more on domestic rather than focusing on international?
Yeah, okay. So in terms of like, if I talk mostly about Turkey, so Turkey airline, most of the domestic, if I say other than biggest airline, if I say Anatolia Jet or the Turkish, so it has got the larger number of share. You can say more than 95% of the share comes to Turkish airline family. So there is no such competition there. Who can have another domestic flight? So no. So I can say more than 95% of the traffic is within Turkish airline family only.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Heather, you were talking when Vijay and you were interacting. You mentioned how your association, which is primarily working towards the advocacy of the travel agents, especially in the retail sector, and you represent over 14,000 such business entities. And in your own assessment, I just want to get a little bit of feel. How much do you think there is a gap between what ACTA has been able to provide as of now in terms of assistance and support to all your member organizations or businesses or individuals, and what the actual need is from that segment? So are there any limitations still that you feel as an organization, as an advocacy body, that there is still a want that is required by the industry, which has still to come in from the government? It could be any level of government.
Yes, well, another good question. First and foremost, to ensure our survival, travel agencies need continued financial support. So we have been very appreciative of the measures that have been put in place. The wage subsidy program has been a lifeline for our agencies, as well as the emergency relief benefit. Of course, that has been another lifeline, especially for our self-employed workers, our independent travel agents. And so those programs, as I say, have been tremendous for our agencies. But it needs to continue in some way, shape, or form. Travel agencies, just to point out that we play an integral role in the travel distribution network. We are the ticketing agents of the airlines. And so our travel agents are trained professional individuals and that are truly masters of their craft. If anything positive has come out of COVID, it is that the role that travel agents play. We helped thousands of individuals return home during those critical peak periods, securing flights, dealing with cancellations, rebookings, insurance claims. So it really would be a travesty if after months of supporting our industry that it ended. So again, it would be a shame if travel businesses with closed borders and continued travel restrictions and through no fault of our own had to shut our doors and lose that professional intelligence. It is also important for governments to know that the travel industry, working with various suppliers, including airlines, cruise lines, hotels, tour operators, we've implemented health and safety protocols. We are eager to work with government to understand what criteria it would take to ease travel restrictions and allow travel businesses to begin to their road to recovery as other businesses are doing. So overall, I would say that those are the necessary steps for our survival.
Thank you very much. I mean, that summarizes, yes, and definitely valuable inputs. I think Vijay, it seems like Minister is still waiting. So in the interim, can we have, I mean, I can proceed with my questions, but I think we have the opportunity to pick up some of the questions that are coming in from audience. So yes, take the benefit of Minister's delay to have those questions first in.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Pramodji. So I think we have a few questions that have come in. Tariq, this is a question for you. I think people were asking, so you're flying flights and you said 3 flights a week between, Istanbul and Canada right now. So the question is, who is flying these flights? Who is in these flights? Is it students? Is it tourists? Is it like who are on these flights? It's a very person on the flights. I mean, just what is your mix of people that are traveling right now?
Okay, so just to make a small correction, so we are flying 8 flights a week, 5 from Toronto, 5 from Toronto, and 3 from Montreal.
Wow.
So yeah, so at present we have that slot. So generally we fly 6 flights a week from Toronto and 3 from Montreal. So Montreal is having the full flight. Only for Toronto we are flying 1 flight less. Now these passengers, so there are lots of passengers who are still struck and was unable to go back to their home countries. So obviously these are students. I can say, like, if I can give you the configuration of the flight, so you can say like 40% is the Turkey customer, 60% is beyond customer. So this is what is happening at present. But if you take an overall general, our general configuration, generally we have got around 70% beyond customer and 30% Turkey customer. But at present, there are a lot of Turkish people who are here or who wants to go and meet their family members. And just to give another info, Istanbul is open, so anyone can go to Istanbul. They can go. The tourism has been started there with taking care of all the safety measures. So one can go, be in Istanbul. There is no need of any COVID test or anything. If you're well enough and everything, you can go and you can enjoy Istanbul and then go back to your, or further continue your home country flights. So if I see in terms of, so we are flying to Europe, we are flying to, like, obviously India at present has been locked down still. The international flight has not been started. But other than that, Pakistan, Bangladesh, like all the other, like Iran, Afghanistan. So whichever the major connecting places are there from here, we are connecting to all those places.
Thank you very much, Tariq. I think that is a very positive note, about airlines. You're only short one flight in a week. So 8 flights from Canada to Istanbul every week. It almost seems like, things have not been as much affected. So fantastic. That's good news. On that note, I'd like to welcome the Minister, Lisa MacLeod. Minister MacLeod, welcome to the ICCC webinar. And we're all eagerly waiting for you. And I'd like to introduce you to our President, Pramod Goyal. Pramodji, had a couple of questions for you, but before we started, Lisa, the Minister MacLeod, if you can, address our audience. We have our membership who are primarily business owners in the Indo-Canada corridor. Also, a lot of travel agents, and as I was mentioning in the beginning, since it's a diaspora organization, a lot of the members do travel a lot between India and Canada. So tourism travel is very, very closely followed. So we'd like to hear from you what your thoughts are, what the government is doing, and your view of the road ahead.
So, well, listen, thanks so much for the invitation. I do apologize for being a bit late. I was on with the Tourism Industry Association of Canada and their roundtable, and of course, a couple of airlines on there as well. First and foremost, let me say thank you for the ability to join you today. You may or may not know, but in 2016, I went to India with the Indo-Canada Chamber of Commerce and enjoyed my trip immensely there. It was 2 weeks. And so I really am fond of this organization as somebody who represents a very diverse riding in our nation's capital. With many Indo-Canadians as well as Chinese Canadians, I am very proud of the cultural fabric we have in Ontario and in Canada, and really think we can build on it. Now, let me say, as the Minister of Tourism, Culture and Sport, as well as Heritage, I think that this organization, as well as others like it, that are run by diasporas with large populations outside of Canada, you can play a pivotal role as we begin the recovery process. And certainly I would like to engage with you, because I believe that there are many people in India who have relatives in Canada and who may want to see this great country. And I think that that would be a tremendous opportunity as we work through the economic recovery, and then of course start to welcome back international travelers when it's safe to do so. I represent the sectors of heritage, sport, tourism, and culture industries. It is a $75 billion suite of sectors that lost about $20 billion almost overnight as a result of COVID-19. Early on, I brought in 14 different ministerial advisory committees, everything from airlines to accommodations and hospitality, to our tourism leaders, our cultural institutions, as well as our music and festivals and events and so on. And through that process, I've been able to access, I say, the best senior leadership team in the entire country of people who are in depth involved in their sectors, while at the same time we have engaged substantial and procured substantial market research to understand consumer trends and behaviors. So if I have a spectacular double bottom line looking at the $75 billion in economic activity, and then of course the cultural fabric of the province, I will say that COVID-19 has given my sectors a triple threat. First and foremost, this has always been, always will be, a health crisis that did create an economic crisis, but I think the social crisis will live on long after the virus has seen a vaccine. And that is because we have been very successful, particularly in Canada, in keeping people safe by asking them to stay away. We have asked for people to social distance, self-quarantine. We have asked them to isolate, and we have asked them to stay 6 feet or 2 meters apart. And as a result, the industries that were hit first, hardest, and will take the longest to recover will be dealing with that social crisis of reconvening people, whether that is the Bollywood mashup, monster mashup that we have in Mississauga, or it is a concert at Ontario Place, or whether it's even going to a movie. Those are some of the issues we're going to be faced with in the next several years, and trying to get that confidence back. And so I'm committed to doing that. I'm committed to working with all organizations in order to be able to bridge that gap. And I think that there are many very exciting opportunities that can be had that come out of this triple threat or this triple crisis. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions. I know it was a little bit late, so I want to make sure that you have the opportunity to ask me questions and see how we can best work together.
So over to you, Pramodji.
Thank you, Mr. MacLeod, for your remarks, and welcome once again to the ICCC webinar. And thank you for taking the time to be with us this afternoon. And I would like to begin our interaction with the note: the Canadian Travel and Tourism Roundtable Organization, they have a statement that says blanket restrictions on movement and travel currently in place are simply too broad or unnecessary. So this group, of course, is urging governments to put in place logical, streamlined measures to keep the public safe, though, while simultaneously allowing the tourism and travel sector to reopen quickly. And of course, I mean, the reasons are manifold. I mean, we see the complete shutdown, almost, if I may say, of the sector. So if I were to request you to kindly share what measures is the provincial government considering towards completely reopening, or at least opening it in a larger focused for especially the tourism and hospitality sector?
Sure. Well, thank you very much, Pramod, for that question. First and foremost, as I say, this is a public health crisis, and we do not have responsibility at the provincial level for opening borders. So that would be a federal matter. Having said that, right now, what your Ontario government is doing is slowly and gradually reopening the Ontario economy, keeping in mind we don't want to overburden our hospital capacity nor our long-term care facility capacity. And so we continue to demonstrate that. And as we move from stage 2, phase 2 into stage 3 and slowly reopen the economy, it's our intention through our ministry to demonstrate that you can safely experience local initiatives at this time. So I would say that one of the things I've been able to successfully do is now I've been on the road for 6 weeks. I have not been in Ottawa very often, where I'm from, and I'm getting out there and traveling across the province. I'm actually staying in a hotel right now, and I have been taking airplanes across Ontario. But what I really want to do is I want to demonstrate to people that are afraid, like there's about 36% of the population that don't want to get back out there and reconnect, that it's safe to do so. We would not, based on the advice of the Chief Medical Officer of Health, open something if we didn't believe it could be done safely. And so as we are in stage 3 in many parts of the province, we have advanced that far because we have done our jobs. And we have done our jobs so well that some people are still afraid to go out. So we've got to enhance that, that confidence and consumer confidence. I would view this in 3. I would view tourism, the return to tourism to 2019 levels, in 3 phases. And I think right now it's hyper local. It is encouraging people just to get back involved in their own communities. Secondly, as we start to see interprovincial barriers in terms of travel restrictions, in terms of travel restrictions are eased, particularly the Atlantic bubble, I think for the next year and a bit, you're going to see a real focus on domestic staycations. And then finally, as Canada, as we advance toward a vaccine and Canada continues to demonstrate it's a safe environment, and we can start welcoming back international visitors, that's where I think we start to position ourselves. And I think, as I said, again, I would love your help. I mean, Turkish Airlines is on here. We have a large Turkish community in Ottawa and probably in other parts of Ontario. These are going to be linkages together where we can build upon bringing the world back to what I like to call the world in one province. And I think, and I'll close on this one. If you look around Ontario, on one weekend, either in Ottawa or Toronto, our two largest cities, you can literally go to Greek Fest, to Ukrainian festival, to Scottish Highland Games, to a South Asian festival, and then to a Lebanese festival. And you can do it all in just one weekend. You can experience all of that culinary delight. You can experience all of the wonderful music, all of the dancing, and all of the art. And, you know, there's not many places in the world where you can do what you can do in Ontario. And so I think that together we can really showcase how we do that best. So thank you.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, yes. Another question that I wanted to ask, I mean, in the interest of time, so I'll be quick. Earlier in May, I think the government, your particular ministry, had announced launching of a new online portal to support, up to 7,000 unemployed tourism and hospitality workers. And I think this was basically to also include a virtual action center, which was to offer counseling and stress management, mental health issues. So I think there was an investment that was announced for about $2 million into this program or initiative. So just wanted to know if you could kindly provide us an update on how is this program doing, and if there are any other programs that are in place to alleviate the suffering of the people that have been rendered jobless or bankrupt, especially this sector, because a lot of our people and the members and other audiences are connected to this sector. So that'll be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, so I think I'll start off on the mental health piece, and I think that that's really important. My colleague, Michael Tabalo, who's the Associate Minister for Mental Health and Addictions, has been working hard, understanding, of course, as I say, the social crisis and getting people to reconnect also is the mental health issues that we're facing as a result of people losing their jobs, being afraid, worried about whether they're going to be able to pay for their mortgage, that sort of thing. So I think that's pretty important, and it's one that our government is remaining focused on. And again, I always say you can always go to ontario.ca/mental health. We do have a wide variety of resources there, and we're trying to target them so that people who have been dealing with this at this period of time, can get that level of support that they're going to require. Second thing is we in our economic statement in April, Minister Phillips, our finance minister, did build a package that did include significant investments to our healthcare and our long-term care facilities, but also in order to support people and to make sure that they were going to be able to pay their bills. And we've been working in close coordination with the federal government with things like the CERB and the wage subsidy and other things. Now, finally, in my ministry, we have the Tourism Development Fund. We retooled that and tripled the funding to the Tourism Development and Recovery Fund. And so that's now going out the door to support operators and attractions across the province. And then just on a final note, we will be coming forward with a budget this fall, likely in September. And our hope, of course, is that we can best support people, not only in this sector, but across the entire industry. But, Pramod, you think about the sectors that I represent and what does your community look like, the things that you like. We all love our local library. It's a meeting place. We all love our local art gallery and our local museum. We like to go to the movies. We like to go to our local festival where we can hear super good music and see our friends, and we love to dance. And these are all of the sectors that I represent, and right now they're under threat because of a couple of things. One is it's not safe for them to gather in the volumes that they were, and they're all high touch, high experience events with a lot of people. And then secondly, there are people that are nervous as they start to do it again because they want to be able to trust their safety, but they don't know if other people are taking those precautions. And finally, there have been people that have been out of work for 4 or 5 months, and they don't have the access to money. And I think we have to look at, when we're framing any government policy or any government program, we have to now look at it through that lens. And so we've been trying to evolve the best we can and try to get it right. And the best way for me to do that, in my opinion, when I couldn't travel, I was doing telephone town halls as much as possible. But now that I'm on the road, I get to see all this for myself.
Thank you, Minister, for your input, and we greatly appreciate all the work that has been done by your ministry, especially the government at the provincial level. So definitely it's commendable, especially taking handle on the pandemic. And we have done as a province, I think, one of the best responses that we see handling of this crisis, even on a global front. So, taking relevance of the time, I would request Vijay if we can at least have 1 or 2 questions before we summarize from the audience. So thank you from my side.
So,
Yes,
Minister MacLeod, I was, some of this thing, we also have Heather Craig Perry from ACTA on the panel, and we talked about something, and this is probably a relevant question. She's got 16,000, 17,000 members, and in this time, they're advocating people to reskill themselves, to kind of, get new skills, because overall, there's going to be a twin whammy here. It's going to be not just the fact that travel might be lower, but it possibly could also be a lot of automation that could happen. So in that sector, like how do you help? Is there any government policy around possibly reskilling travel agents to probably get know more, do more, or pivot into other things?
Yeah, Vijay, really good question. So my colleague, the Minister of Labour Skills Development, is Monty McNaughton, is working on a package for that. I think we recognized before the pandemic that there's going to be a requirement for those in the skilled trades. And I think too, this is it's very important that we have that discussion in terms of supporting that. The other area, and you mentioned it, the automation. And that could be looked at in 2 ways. The first is when you start to look at, for example, tourism, and it allows in a certain way. I'm not saying take away people's jobs. What I am saying is enhance it and make it easier so that there's a touchless experience. And one example of that is when you go into some of your local restaurants now, and they don't physically hand you a menu anymore. Mm-hmm. There's a QR code on the table. And so there will be significant advances, I think, digitally. The problem with that is while it's good and well for my city of Ottawa or your city of Toronto or Brampton or Mississauga or Durham or Niagara Falls or Windsor, London, Kitchener, the issue is the broadband access in rural communities. And I have seen that firsthand as a city girl. I've seen that over the past 6 weeks I've been out on the road. And so we're going to have to make sure we continue to pressure our federal government so that we do not have a digital divide in the province of Ontario, and that everybody has equal access to the internet, because that's going to be a very big issue. So I think that there will be opportunities for reskilling, but there also will be opportunities, in my opinion, if we are successful in getting broadband access to giving people different digital content. Let me give you one final example on this one. We have something called Ontario.live. It's a website that we recognize for 3 or 4 months we were not going to be able to travel. We have curated on there an actual tourism destination. You can travel Ontario on this website. You can see virtual content for art galleries, museums, public libraries. We've even hosted concerts on that. And so there's a different way of doing things now. And I just think that could be a positive thing later on if we plan early for that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Lisa, Minister MacLeod, and I have maybe time for one quick more question, or maybe two. The one quick question here. This may be something that Tariq Anwar from Turkish Airlines and a lot of people in the travel business are probably asking, but it's probably a federal jurisdiction. But if it's tourism, there are a lot of countries that are now creating travel bubbles, like the US and India, the UK and India. So different countries, they have bilateral travel bubbles. India and Canada, as of now, at least doesn't have a travel bubble. Now, I know it's not part of the provincial jurisdiction, but from tourism, it would something that would help tourism. We had Mayor Crombie and Mayor Brown here yesterday, and we were talking about how in today's world, when you look at it, it's all relative. Canada is a beacon of calm. We look outside, so we might be able to still get people to come to Canada. We're better off than their own country. So it's a couple of questions. One is this bubble thing, travel bubble stuff. Is there any talk? Are you guys lobbying? Can you do something about that?
No, so I right now in Ontario, the Premier has been very clear that we want to keep our population safe, and the best way for us to do that. But that will be a federal initiative if they so choose, and I do think that that's something perhaps down the road. But right here and right now, we're dealing with our health crisis in the best way we can, and we're trying to encourage people to really get into that local staycation mode, that hyper local tourism.
So again, I think that's something and fantastic. I think that's the answer that our audience was looking for as well. Is I think safety first, and we'll do that later. But to your point, I always joke. You can take a world map. You can take a dart and close your eyes and throw it. And if it falls in Bolivia, in Toronto, you can go to a Bolivian restaurant for lunch. You can throw it at any place in the world, and there is a restaurant. So I think that is the richness in the culture, the mosaic that we have in Ontario, and especially in the larger cities like Toronto. And I think for us to be able to push that, I think would be fantastic. And Minister MacLeod, thank you very much for making the time. We're at the top of time here, but Pramodji, I will give you a quick 30 seconds if you want to close, and any closing comments.
Thank you, Vijay, and I would like to sincerely thank all the panelists, especially Mr. MacLeod and Tariq and Heather from ACTA for taking the time and be with us to share their views on this crucial subject. And also, I would like to extend our sincere thanks and appreciation to all the people who are connected to us through various media and for their participation. Thank you very much. Have a nice afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we would now also like to thank our technology partner, Tangentia, our ICC annual sponsors, gold sponsor, Turkish Airlines, silver sponsor, TD Bank, ICICI Bank, Peter and Paul's. Thank our annual sponsor again, RBC, TELUS, Raymond James, Seneca, SBI Canada, GT20, and our media partners, Weekly Voice, Y Media, and PTC Punjabi. So thank you very much, everybody, again, for joining in. If you have any inquiries about today's webinar, how to become a member of the ICCC or to use the ICCC Small Businesses Program, write to us at icccc@icconline.org. And thank you very much to all our panelists and Minister MacLeod, and look forward to seeing the rest of you in the audience at our next webinar. Stay safe and have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.